Hello, friends. In this session, I want to discuss generative AI ROI in pharma industry. As we know, everybody is talking about AI and generative AI, but finally, it's a business decision. What return on investment is achieved or is expected in pharma industry? So, what are the challenges and what are the strategic recommendations? I want to focus on to this. So my agenda is basic introduction, current state of generative AI adoption in pharma industry, key challenges, recommendation, how to prioritize high impact use cases, adoption in a phased implementation manner, the approach, and finally the conclusion. So when I say about the introduction, the current state is a very challenging. It's a falling short of initial expectation. There is a hype, and we have to see the reality also. A lot of people are thinking at various operating levels, starting from top management to operating shop floor people. Their expectations from AI are very high. While AI implementation is a big challenge, but at the same time, it has got a huge opportunity for value creation. And that is where there is a significant potential about achieving business excellence, operational excellence, improvements in productivity, performance, profitability, and all. However, this requires a strategic approach. No, we have to really understand no, the current situation. As we normally discuss, it's a holistic approach. It's a people, processes, and technology. When you consider the current situation, you have to consider that who are the people who are going to drive it? What are the business expectations, challenges, and strategies? And finally, which is the technology which we are going to use it? Are we really ready to adapt to the artificial intelligence technology? So, considering all these factors, we have to develop the new strategies or work out the recommendations and all that. And finally, we have to implement it in a strategic move. So, if we look at it, the current state, there is a executive dissatisfaction is been seen. No, executives are unhappy with the company's progress in a generative AI implementation. Two things are there when we look at it to why there is a unhappiness. It's basically the implementation cost is very high, and second is it's not really properly strategized or the plan for migration from maybe analog system, old systems, considering the people, processes, and all that is to be considered. Significant expenses are really required. No, that's what really I was mentioning it. Now, a lot of factors which are involved in driving this change or upgrading into from old systems to the new systems and adoption is the challenges. So we have to have a long-term schedule. No, so implementation process is a time consuming. You have to draw the into the phases and all that. So the key challenges is that when we look at it more now, shifting from the technology angle, is the data quality and availability issues. There is the inconsistency data formats are there. There is the incomplete and the missing data is there when we are really looking. Whether you are talking about the logistics, distribution, customers, manufacturing, quality, suppliers. A huge amount of data is there. But is the data is into a similar format, similar concept? Can it be seamlessly integrated? Or is the data is sufficient enough? Because there are a lot of places we find that data-driven decision making is really required, which expects certain amount of data, which is not available. Then, since we are talking about the pharma industry, there is a regulatory uncertainties are there. Compliance concerns are not really very clear. Regulatory requirements are changing, which are not been known. The documentation required is not very clear, and this requires a thorough understanding about the depth, what we really expect from the system from the data from the decision making point of view. These are the things which are to be very clear before thinking about or drawing a plan about the artificial intelligence. Then integration difficulties are there from the legacy system. The old systems may or may not have a same data formats which are now expected when we are thinking about doing the data analysis with artificial intelligence. So there are compatibility issues are there. Data migration challenges are there. So these are the challenges which we have to really think about it. Then comes the skills shortage and then the talent gaps. The skills which are really expected to understand the importance of the data formats, and finally, the use of the data after adoption of artificial intelligence, how it can help in taking the necessary correct decisions is the most important thing. So there are a lot of those things which we have to really think about it. And that is basically lack of the trained professionals. And when we start thinking about various such factors, then the whole implementation cost goes up. So this requires a high initial investment cost. Since we are focusing on to calculating the ROI, we have to be very precise, very correct, that what is the total investment required for this particular project. So there are some recommendation which I thought I will share with you is you have to prioritize on the high impact use cases, whether you want to focus on to distribution and logistics or manufacturing or procurement or inventory visibility or regulatory requirements. There are a number of such areas are there which we have to really take into consideration where you feel that you by implementing that AI, you will immediately get a better return. So focus on to those areas. You have to also keep it in mind is the quality management and regulatory compliances because we are discussing about pharma industry and pharma industry's regulatory requirements is very important. Stringent regulatory requirements are there. We have to also think about the digital supply chain, and when you are talking about the complete supply chain, smart manufacturing contributes a lot actually. Normally, we have to see that manufacturing plays a very important role in pharma industry. So we have to keep eye onto that actually, because this is covering from order to delivery, and finally the patient safety and patient satisfaction is most important. And this gets linked up from the distribution resource planning and logistics. So from the warehouse and going to the distribution location, and then the route planning, and finally the patient getting the product delivered in time, right quality, right decisions, right quantity is all very important. So we have to really decide, which are the use cases where we can focus on to this. Then comes to adopt a phased implementation approach. start with a smaller project, and then you get some results, and then that builds up the confidence. The team is comfortable, and then that gives an example to the other department, other areas, so they can also build up their preparedness, and they will also vouch for going for some system, and this is where we can start implementing it. Then you have to take into consideration the investments into the data infrastructure and governance, actually. Then we have to think about fostering the cross-functional collaboration. As I mentioned just now about complete digital supply chain management, these are the various functional areas. When we start looking from the demand planning, then sales and operation planning, then procurement planning, then supply side, then comes the regulatory requirement. These are the various functional areas are there, and then they have to really come together to work in a basically in efforts to achieve those things and all that. And then develop artificial intelligence talents and partnerships and all. And while doing this, we have to also build a clear matrix. What really we expected. We have to quantify those expectations. What improvements we expected, and then we have to monitor continuously, saying that whether what we have achieved, whether we have achieved 40% or 70% or 90% and all, and if they are not there, if there are any gaps, how we can improve onto that and all, and then that addresses the regulatory and ethical considerations are also important while looking at it for AI implementation. Then once we decide all that, then you prioritize onto high impact use cases. No, some of the focus areas which I mentioned just now also is about quality management, regulatory compliances, digital supply chain, smart manufacturing, distribution resource planning, logistics. Some of those areas which you can focus on that. Now coming to this, that adoption of the phased implementation manner. So I mentioned some last two slides back is that adoption in the phased manner is the most important thing. We have to really start with a smaller project, which is a which can really demonstrate in a shorter time with a minimum investment, but quantifiable benefits, tangible, intangibles, and all that, and which is manageable projects to demonstrate the value. And then you have to draw a 3 years strategic plan with a detailing about 12 months, 18 months, and like that actually, which will be a guideline, which will have a roadmap for that whole implementation. Then invest into the data infrastructure and the primarily building a robust data foundation is most important thing, because as you go on implementing, there's going to be a big and big data information will get captured, and there are some more requirements, some decision making point of view will come up and all that. So data management practices, and which will also help in doing the regular audits and all, which we have to think about it. So this becomes a critical issue. So while doing this implementation, these are the facts which you have to keep it in mind. And then, as we mentioned earlier, cross-functional collaboration is there. This encourage collaboration between sales and operation planning, uh, information technology, and the other operating department, which is very important thing. Many a times we have seen that even the maintenance department or energy management also play a very crucial role, which in many cases it gets neglected or not given the importance which is really expected, because uh, downtime onto the equipment may affect onto your production, and then give the quality and all those things. So the idea is that no, we have to really take into consideration the all cross-functional teams which are going to drive this whole project and all. And then we create an interdisciplinary teams to leverage. What I mean to say about interdisciplinary, you have to select a person from each department and build that team, and then that team should really totally focus on to driving this artificial intelligence implementation projects and all that. Actually, you should not give them some other assignments or something, and then that talent and then the partnerships will drive this whole project. They are more onto the advisory. They may not have a regular assignments, but they will focus onto these implementations and all. And along with that, you have a project plan, you have a resource allocation, you have targets about completion of the activities, and then you also identify and see what are the quantifiable benefits which have been achieved it and all that. And this should also support to the regulatory and environmental things. So finally, coming to the conclusion is that what I mean want to say that you have to a strategic plan which you have to see where to work it out on a long term basis, but focus on to the high impact areas and then see and deliver the tangible benefits on the short term basis and all that, which will help you to improve the what ROI or the return on investment which you are really looking at it. And then that helps in achieving the benefits which you are really looking at it. Hope I just wanted to give you the importance how you can really calculate ROI. These are just guidelines depending upon your company and then your culture, your priorities, your business focuses, and all that. You can adopt to draw these plans for the ROI calculation and all that. For more information, we already have a YouTube channel where almost 300 videos are there. You will find a lot of more inputs into those areas. And we also have a smart manufacturing in pharma platform on Udemy. You will look it and get more information. Do subscribe and join over there also. Plus, we have a podcast channel, so do subscribe and see. I'm quite sure you will get a lot of good information out of that. In case if you still need some more inputs or any help or any advice, feel free to contact us. If you need some specific challenges to be discussed, do write to us. We will definitely include all those details also into our next podcast and next channels also. Thank you. Bye.